the identity of the person I was dating didn't matter. So it didn't feel like something bad happening or like I was losing anything. I was just like, cool, this is you becoming more of who you are and who you want to be and what's going to make you more comfortable in the world. And like, how could I not be on board with that and be super happy?
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 92. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have an interview with Amanda and MC, a couple who reached out to us because they kind of called us out for not having enough diversity. However, we can only have people on the show that want to come on the show.
So we appreciate them calling us out, and we're super excited to have them on the show to share their story. It's an awesome story, and we think you will all love it.
Yes.
So thank you to them for reaching out. Thank you to them for being a part of helping make the show
more diverse.
Better and more diverse.
Yes.
Before we jump into that, of course, we have a couple of things to announce very quickly, like super quick.
The first is we had our Boston meet and greet a few days ago, and it went great. We had 16 people show up, including 2 couples who this was their very first event ever of anything in non-monogamy land.
Yeah, I mean, maybe event ever.
Maybe.
We don't know.
But it was super fun. Everything went great, and everyone was amazing.
Yeah, so thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to Ginger and Ryan of Life on the Swing Set and Intellectual Foreplay podcast for also joining us and helping to promote it and doing the heavy lifting on being extroverts.
Yes.
We appreciate
especially
it.
Ginger.
Yeah. Ryan pretty much just ate his chicken wings. That's not true.
No, it's not true. He blended it with us.
Yeah, we just sat in the corner and didn't talk to anybody. The 3 of us.
Well, if that entices anyone, we have another meet and greet coming up in Toronto. Also, that wasn't true at all. We talked to everyone. We had a lot of fun conversations, and so did Ryan. Anyway, Toronto.
This Saturday, October
26th, from 2 to 6 p.m., we have a meet and greet in Toronto. If you're anywhere near the area or if you want to come in, we'd love to have you.
Yep, there's an international airport right there.
Yep. Other announcements. Last week, we had an interview, episode 90, with Kathy, and she has written 3 books and actually sent them to us to give away.
Yep, so if you want to be able to enter to win those 3 books, you need to be one of our patrons. Not to play favorites, but we did tell people early on that if you're a patron, you get the chance to win awesome stuff. And so she sent us over these books. So if you're interested, take a look into that. Also, while you're there, something else that you will have the opportunity to get is $50 off any purchase of $150 or more at the Enclosed. The Enclosed is not an affiliate of ours. They're just kind of a loose partnership of we help them, they help us kind of thing. For people who aren't patrons, you also can get $25 off. Use the code EMMA25 and you get $25 off any purchase.
And to be clear, the Enclosed is a lingerie company.
It's a gift company.
Right. They're in the business of giving gifts. Their lingerie comes packaged in these beautiful boxes, even with rose petals. And it's super fun and they're comfortable and amazing lingerie. So check them out if you haven't. There's links on our resources page. Also links to RSVP for any of the meet and greets, which is the Toronto one left. We will be doing more meet and greets in the future. However, we don't have anything scheduled at the moment. But go check everything out on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
Also, while you're there, one other quick ask for people. This is something that we've never done before.
No, something new, but it's not too hard on your part. We're asking for some help from our listeners.
Yeah, so on our website, we have a Contact Us page, and we've mentioned it before. There's a little button where you can click to leave an audio recording for us. we are creating some additional content for the show. It's not going to replace the Monday episodes or the Wednesday episodes, but it is going to be some more topic-based content. And we are doing an episode with Catherine. She was the relationship coach / therapist from way back.
We should have looked up.
We should have looked up which episode. I will look that up really quick. Turns out that was episode 57. We'll do our homework next time. So anyway, she is coming on to help us talk about intentional conversations. And one of those intentional conversations is, how do you broach the subject of non-monogamy with a partner who may or may not be interested in it? And so
what we'd like is to have our listeners call in and leave a voicemail for us with their story of how you broached the topic of non-monogamy with your partner.
Or how they broached it with you.
Exactly. And was it successful? How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel threatened? Did it make you feel safe? If either one of those things, how did your partner use language or you use language that made you feel those things?
Yeah. And basically it's just, how did they do it, or how did you do it, and how did it go? Yeah, again, whether you screwed it up royally or whether you knocked it out of the park.
I was going to say, if you completely fucked it up, we want to hear your story too, because that's how you learn.
The idea here is that these will be compiled, and then Catherine is going to talk about the different ones and maybe what pieces and strategies and why they worked, and sort of analyze them a little bit.
With us, yeah. It'll be a conversation.
So it's going to be kind of a cool thing. If you can, please do that. We would really, really appreciate it. They don't need to be super long, 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes is fine. Just something quick, kind of a quick synopsis of how it went. For example, in episode 2, we talked with Taylor and Ryan, and, they mentioned that for them, he had to bring it up once a year for 10 years before she was on board. So just something like that, and maybe some little details to help us help everybody else.
Yeah, and just to be clear, if you do leave us a voicemail, we will be compiling them and using them as an episode. So your voice will be put on the podcast. I just want to make that super crystal clear for anyone. Hopefully that won't discourage people from calling in, though.
Yeah, and you don't have to leave your name or address or anything. Just we'd really love your help and input on this to create some pretty kick-ass content. So thank you in advance for those of you that are still listening, and for those of you that call in.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
And with that, we will stop talking, and we will go talk some more with Amanda and MC.
Yeah. Welcome, MC and Amanda. We're super excited to have you on today. I'm really excited about...
I can tell. That's a lot of excitement there.
People that reached out to us via email and asked for more. Amanda, when you reached out, you asked for more diversity in our guests, and we can't really do that unless people are willing to come on the show. And so
we've been asking for it too.
Yeah, so we've been asking for it too.
Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, for sure. I know I wanted to call you in a little bit about the mostly hetero folks you have on, because that's a lot of what the especially lifestyle is.
Right.
Yeah, we agree, and it's our goal to try to highlight as many different people as we can. I mean, do you mind digging in a little bit about each of you to share, I guess, the diversity you're bringing today?
Yeah, sure.
And a cat may show up here once in a while.
There's 4 of them, so.
Okay.
So I'm Amanda. My pronouns are she, her. I'm 33. Identify as a queer woman. And so what that means for me is that I'm attracted to people of all genders, gender identities, expressions, anything like that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm MC. I identify as a transgender queer human. For me, that means that I identify gender-wise outside of the binary, and I am attracted to all sorts of folks, all gender identities.
Age and pronouns?
Oh, age and pronouns. I use they, them pronouns, and I am 29.
Cool.
Awesome. And you listen to our show, presumably. Are you in a non-monogamous dynamic of some kind, or just wanted to bring some more diversity to our
No,
show?
we are. Yeah, from the beginning, we've been in a poly relationship. I was primary partner with someone, met MC. We also started dating, and then that first relationship ended, and then we've just been together since then, and also dating and seeing other people.
Yeah. So how long have you two been together?
2 years.
Just had our anniversary last week.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And have you been open the entirety of the relationship?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess had you both been exploring it? It sounded like a little bit before you met, or is this?
So I have been in some sort of non-monogamous relationship since probably like 10 years. So with various people along the way. How about you?
I have not. I grew up with only having monogamy as like the blueprint I saw. And so it wasn't until I was friends with Amanda first and saw her relationship, I was like, oh, that like makes so much sense, right? Like the love and relationships aren't a scarcity, like there's plenty to give and see. And so in growing in relationship with her, like explored that more. So since we've started, we've been open and dating other folks. And
Yeah. Was it hard at all for you to wrap your head around the concept, or was it just because from your background, or not really?
I think it was somewhat difficult just because only in the fact that reactions within people I knew, but for me, it just made sense. Like, of course, like that love and time aren't, well, time is, I guess, a finite thing, but like love isn't a finite thing, and there's plenty of there. So it wasn't hard. It just made sense.
And I wanted to circle back before we dive in more about non-monogamy. You mentioned that you use the pronouns they, them, and before the interview started, you said that your gender identity has kind of shifted throughout your relationship as well. I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about that.
Do you want to go to
I mean, it's your identity.
It's true. Okay. It's impacted both of us, I think. So I grew up in a couple different smaller towns and kind of realized that I didn't fit within, I'm an AFAB person. So I was assigned female at birth. And so I was just kind of aware that I didn't feel comfortable with that, but didn't really have words for it. So when we met, I identified as a woman, and then pretty quickly met people that was like, oh, there are words for what I feel. And so that has changed throughout our relationship. Like I've transition related things. My body has changed in ways since we started dating. But yeah.
Do you want to be more specific about that or no?
Sure.
Okay.
I had
It's totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with.
It's changed like in how I like present in the world, and then also like I had top surgery, and so my body has changed drastically. And that way, hormones have shifted. So like that's also changed my body and like mood, and like exploring how that has changed my body and how it's changed how we navigate life together. Yeah. It's been an adventure. Wild ride.
And I guess in what ways has it changed how you're navigating things together?
You said that, and I was wondering the same thing.
Well, I think for me, like navigating gender identity was and has been a process, right? And so, like, it's a process for myself, but also with those you're doing life with, right? I mean, I think we've both talked about how that's been in the past.
I think in other people's, like, strangers' point of view too, going from looking like two women out in the world together to, like, sometimes you get clocked as a man. So then it might, we don't look necessarily like queer people out in the world, which is something that's interesting to think about sometimes, because it's a part of our identities that we both value a lot.
And I mean, and like also like pretty not long after dating, then like she like took care of me for like a month and a half as I was recovering from like a pretty extensive surgery, and just like the deepness that brings to a relationship pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah. some major changes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And has it been on your end, Amanda, like that's kind of a big thing to have happen, right? Like you start a relationship with somebody as identifying as a woman, and then partway through your, like fairly soon after that's a shift, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's nothing that I had ever dealt with. That sounds not good. It was something that I had never experienced before. But because I am a queer human, I was always knew that the identity of the person I was dating didn't matter. So it didn't feel like something bad happening or like I was losing anything. I was just like, cool, this is you becoming more of who you are and who you want to be and what's going to make you more comfortable in the world. And like, how could I not be on board with that and be super happy?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and maybe the fact, like you said, that you are queer, that it didn't matter to you whether MC was a man or a woman or a non-binary, right? That wasn't the issue for you, which I think could be an issue for a lot of people if they're straight identified and they get into a relationship with a woman and then all of a sudden that's not the case anymore. That could be really tough.
I think too, seeing the ways that like MC was struggling in the world, like even things that seem simple, like getting dressed to go out somewhere would be really difficult because of the way your body was shaped and the way clothes fit. And so like knowing that you were taking steps to make even little things like that feel easier was really exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it opened up a lot of emotional space. A ton. And that gave us more space for now, doing life together that, didn't take me half an hour, 45 minutes, to get ready to leave the house, right? Less of dysphoria, yay.
Right, for sure. Well, and how has that played into exploring non-monogamy together? Because that's also a really difficult thing to navigate on its own, and then you're kind of doing both at the same time.
So we don't do a lot of dating together with other people.
Sure.
So the 2 years we've been together, I've been seeing one person regularly for most of that, but also just a couple one-offs. But MC didn't explore a lot of that, even though the door was open, just because of how much they were navigating gender identity and stuff like that. So, but recently, yes, started doing that. So that's fun.
It's been an adventure. I think also I'm feeling more secure in my identity and learning how to navigate that within a space that is a lot of polyculture and a lot of just the culture in the Midwest in general is not always super trans friendly and thinking about safety. If I want to just have a hookup, safety is a thing I have to really be mindful of.
And you don't mean STI pregnancy?
No, I mean violence. And it has changed things that I may have been able to do when I identified as a woman more safely in a violence way. Well, not necessarily, but it's different, right? There are people who are very transphobic, and so I think it's made me more aware in how I explore non-monogamy is maybe different than it would have been before.
I think it makes it more thoughtful too, though, sometimes, because then you're putting in more work into screening people in ways that maybe you wouldn't feel like you needed to, and so you wind up with better quality people at the end of all that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, because when you, as we talk about a lot on the show, when you tell somebody something about you and they react positively or negatively, that's their reaction is everything you need to know, right, about moving forward. And you can really filter people out that way and filter people out who would be more accepting and not accepting. But I was going to ask about because I knew you were in the Midwest, about the culture there and how, because you two are pushing a lot of norms, between being, which is amazing. Yes, exactly. It's amazing, but I'm sure it's also challenging because you have to remember things like, safety wise, and because people can be terrible wherever you're at, but when you're in more of an accepting area or not, you have to really take some of that into consideration. So I guess, has there been ways, other than just being honest about who you are, have there been ways with other partners or with people in your life that you've been trying to work to change that, other than just being who you are?
That's a hard one.
Yeah. So like in ways to change that, I think we talked, like, so there are a lot of the poly and like community within our city is very cis and hetero.
Mm-hmm.
And so like working within, like, there's a couple Facebook groups and like meetups, like working towards creating, like trying to find and create more spaces that are more accepting of trans folks and queer people.
We also just like slowly through this whole process, like all of our friends have shifted into being like all queer or trans people. So we're just like always surrounded by that.
Yeah.
So it feels like normal isn't the right word, because what's normal? But I don't know. It's just like everyone
like comfortable, maybe.
Yeah, and it's like, it really does feel like a safer and safer community within like our community, right? Like not necessarily the city at large, but like within our community, a safe place to be open.
Yeah.
And we would love to see play spaces become more open, but that's not necessarily a thing that.
Well, I don't think they're explicitly not open. It just feels like we would be the only people there who are not like cisgender folks.
Yeah.
And that would be perhaps uncomfortable. No. Even if people are like, no, we are welcoming. It's like, cool, that's great. That's step one. Step two is like diversifying the people maybe you're like trying to reach out to bring to these spaces or whatever. There is one play space that I think happens like once a month that's for everybody except male identified folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And we've heard about some of that on a couple of different episodes where, it's trying to really make those people feel welcome. And it's not enough sometimes just to say like, oh yeah, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
But also really make sure that space is safe.
Right. Yeah. So, there's the difference there.
So have you also then, it sounds like you've explored the polyamory, but are you looking also to go to some more like, I guess, sex clubs or swinger type clubs as well?
I think I'm definitely open to that. We're both interested in it, but just like finding the right place is a barrier. It's like,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I was also curious on MC's side, that you had not explored non-monogamy really before this. Mm-hmm. And I guess, how do you contrast like your relationships before this one being open, like to this one? Like,
so this is also interesting because so I grew up in, like I said, in very like, I had not come out as queer until like 4 or 5 years ago. And so like I had also hadn't dated a ton because I would not necessarily feel safe to date people who weren't cis men. And I also wasn't comfortable dating those cis men. So like it's very different in a lot of ways, right? Like my first queer relationship was this one. She's great. But like also like it's been great and liberating to also like have space to explore dating other people and exploring my identity and the people that I want to be with and being encouraged to do that. I learned like the word compersion from this one, and it just like made so much sense for how I operate as a person like outside a relationship. So it's been really awesome to see it within a relationship from both of us also.
Right.
I feel like that came really naturally to you, which was exciting to see. It does not come naturally to me. So
the compersion side of things?
Yeah, it's hard, which I feel like is a thing that nobody wants to admit and say.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like it's sometimes, what's the word? I don't know, just sometimes jealousy happens and you don't, even if you logically are like, no, why? I'm doing the exact same thing. And like, there's no reason for me to be jealous here, but it happens. And then I have to go like, wait a minute, slow down, back up. Like nothing that's happening here is bad or dangerous or unsafe or ethically against what we believe in. So it's good. But I think I have to work towards it. And at least from my point of view, it seems like it is very natural and easy for you.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating. Like you said, you sort of, at the start of this relationship with Amanda, you kind of reset everything, right? Like you hadn't been in a relationship that wasn't, that was a queer relationship. You started to explore and allow your sexuality to come through and your gender and everything like that. So like you kind of hit the reset button at the start of this, and it's you almost like, yeah, like it's not even really fair to compare pre Amanda time to now.
That's right. I define you.
Hell yeah.
Just kidding.
No, you don't. I think it's been, I think it's felt like a big change, a lot of big changes at once. So many good, healthy changes. I think that for me has been opening and fulfilling. I think for a lot of people in my life has been like, holy hell, what the fuck's happening, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's been like, oh, now it all makes sense. Right. But for a lot of people around me, I think there was a lot of like hand holding other people through changes.
Yes.
And how has that gone for the most part, I guess?
Well, I feel like it's a 50-50 split.
We're talking about family and friends in general, yeah.
I feel like all of our friends have been like great and happy and
maybe just like, oh, okay, yeah. Here for it.
And just roll with it.
But I feel like as far as your family goes, it's maybe like 50-50. Yeah.
But I feel like the ones on the 50-50 that are here for it have been wonderfully supportive. So.
That's really good to hear. It's unfortunate that there's 50 that's not, but at the same time, at least there's some good family to have being supportive.
Right. Shout out to my parents. They try real hard. Yeah. I mean, like, I am like a kid from the Midwest. I'm a pastor's kid. And like, they have a trans, queer, poly kid. And right, like, so like breaking a lot of like norms and boxes, and they have been.
Well, and beliefs and rules.
Right. And like, I've tried really hard to like learn and be accepting and loving and.
Yeah, but I mean, they've always been loving.
Yeah, it's just like unlearning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like from your point of view too, you understand that they're trying and that they're giving, you're both putting some effort in, to keep the relationship and be supportive.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then on like you two, in order to navigate what you've navigated so far, takes an immense amount of communication, I would venture to guess. How do you, was that something that you learned through this relationship, or have you learned it over time, and how have you navigated it?
I think it was good that we were friends first.
Yeah.
And so like we've navigated things like as friends first. And I think from the very beginning, we were like honesty first, like everything else might be hard, but honesty first. And so I think we've been really good about being open. And that's grown, like how and when we're honest, like how and when we discuss things, not how and when we're honest.
What do you mean how and when?
But like realizing, like learning that like I need to process everything verbally right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like learning that it's okay that like she's like, yes, I 100% want to be honest, but like I need like 10 minutes to like process. And I think we've learned that and grown in that together, but like we've always prioritized being honest and making space to communicate and process things together. Yeah. And not just involving like involving everyone, like when other people are involved, like all of us being open and discussing things together, not just the two of us.
Yeah. I also think like my last two like longer term relationships before this one, the people were perhaps less emotionally mature.
Mm-hmm.
So honesty sometimes was hard. Not honesty, communication would be hard, because those folks would maybe shut down if things got hard and just not want to talk about anything. So it's been like a fucking breath of fresh air that you're like, even though sometimes I'm like, put it back inside for 10 minutes, like that they just want to like talk about it and then it's over with is like, so good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That the level of communication can be there, even sometimes too much.
Oh yeah.
Over communicated.
Kind of just like word vomit, right?
Yes.
I'm guilty of that too.
No.
Well, there's a lot less changes happening all at once now.
Right.
So
Yeah, like we were processing so much at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been through a lot of amazing changes in 2 years.
Good job, us.
So are there things that you haven't experienced yet that you're hoping to, whether it's not necessarily just a sexual question, but
In general.
Yeah, in general, like either the two of you or with other partners or anything.
I don't know. We've had like one group experience that was really fun, and that would be cool to do again, but maybe with less people because it was a little overwhelming and like urgency.
How many people were in there?
Just 4, but that one's like enough. Like let's just take one of them out. But yeah,
not sexually. We're like thinking forward, like what our relationship continues to grow and look like. Navigating those things and like what that looks like as being open. And there's actually a podcast you all did recently that we were discussing just like what families look like in open relationships.
Oh yeah, with Co.
Yeah.
Like what does that look like? So we like that podcast is really helpful in like navigating that and like discussing what that would look like for us.
Maybe a thing we've talked about that would maybe be interested in but don't know how it would exactly work is like perhaps if we lived with someone that was one of our partners or that we were both dating or just like what that would look like. Yeah.
Like we're pretty open to like seeing what life brings us.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you ever, I guess probably, but would you consider closing things if that seemed right for your relationship at that time?
If it seemed right, I would say so, but I don't think it will ever seem right.
Right. I think if it were ever to be like, hey, I feel like we've talked before, like if we ever either like to be, I'm never like, I can't foresee it ever being like we are now closed for the foreseeable future. But I feel like there have been times it's like, hey, like there's a lot happening. I might need like us to like not add anybody new for like just a little bit. Like we could have that discussion and been willing to have that conversation, but I can't see us ever like closing. That's just not how either of our brains really work.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was curious on Amanda's side. Then so we learned on MC's side that you this was your first foray, that you were thrust into this all because of Amanda. How did you get involved in the non-monogamy world way back 10 years ago?
So when I graduated college, my partner and I at the time moved states. And so then we were like suddenly away from all of our friends and our family. This person and I went to high school together, so we had known each other since we were teenagers. And like basically we're almost the only people we had ever each dated or had sex with. So I think somehow the idea got into one of our heads and we just were like, haha, wouldn't it be weird if we dated other people sometimes? LOL. And then had a serious discussion about it and decided that was a thing we were interested in doing. And it just And from there.
Yeah. So rather than breaking up, it was a way to still get some needs met, but be together. Right?
Yeah. And we're not together now, but that person and I are still good friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that started off, that was like, we're going to explore relationships with other people, or was it just initially a sexual?
So, as a lot of people end up telling you, there were a lot of rules at the beginning about like, you can do this, you can't do this, this is okay, this is not okay. So it was like, anything is okay except catching feelings.
Which you have total control over.
Right. Well, when you're 23 or whatever, you think that you can totally control your emotions and your feelings in your heart. That was what it started as. And then I fell for somebody more than just hooking up, and it like opened a whole can of worms. And because it felt like it was a rule breaking, that's, I think, what ultimately ended the relationship. So then going forward, that was still kind of a rule that other people wanted to have. And I don't think I had fully recognized or felt empowered yet to say, like, that's not how I work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, all right, I can do that. And then I just like couldn't do it ever. And so finally I was like, this is me, and that's how it's going to be. You got to be with me. It has to be fine.
Right. And so after that first one, you started then seeking out other non-monogamous relationships. Like that sort of became your default after that one?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the one directly after that began monogamous. It was so for like a year, and then sort of opened under duress. Like, we're fighting all the time, and so let's, like, this will make it better. But then for like 6 more years with that person was open, and we were still together. So yeah, but it's just been non-monogamy since then.
So it did make it a little better, but not.
Yeah, for
a long time.
For a little while.
Yeah.
A few years.
Which is typically not what the suggestion is when your relationship's in a bad place, to open it up is not usually a good thing, but sometimes it works.
Yeah. For a bit.
Yeah.
So are there things that you two think like the non-monogamy has brought to your relationship that has made it better? And on the flip side, are there things that you think has made your relationship harder because of it?
Well, made it better. There's just more people to love. What's not to love about that? So like the other person that I've been seeing long-term regularly for like a little bit over a year and a half. Yeah, almost. Like we're all friends and hang out.
I love him so much.
Yeah, he's good. So I think creating friendships in ways that there may not have been before is a thing that's good. For me, a thing that is sometimes makes it harder is feeling like we have to be intentional about making time for each other, which isn't a bad thing, but it's new-ish. Because in my previous non-monogamy, there were some rules about like frequency that you could see other people that you were dating.
That's not how we work.
No, we're just like, you're your person, I'm my person, like do your life. So that's the thing that's a little bit harder. It's just making sure that we're intentional about time together. And also, if either one of us is just glued to our phones, like with somebody else, I'm like, stop.
Yeah. I think the thing that has been good for me is like, I think culturally, a lot of us are taught that like relationships, one person is supposed to be your everything and you're supposed to be one person's everything. And I just how, in my mind, that's like really unhealthy. Right. And so for me, it's been really healthy to be like, I am here and I love you. But I am in charge of making sure my needs are met. And like, I will be here and love you and like meet what needs I can, but like acknowledging that like, we're in charge of finding and like meeting our own needs has been really healthy for me. And like learning boundary setting has been marvelous. It's been good and healthy. Hard-wise, I think time. Like I think my work schedule sometimes makes that hard, but we're intentional. And if navigating time is as hard as it gets,
yeah, I was gonna say you're not doing too bad.
No, that's pretty good.
Oh, it's weird. I'm like, we haven't had any major blow up fights in 2 years. Is this how it's supposed to be?
I don't like that.
No, I don't either, but it seems like for me, every relationship until now has had all these like,
I think we
just fights for no reason.
I think we're intentional, like being honest, like when something is hard, we just talk about it before.
Yeah, I think that definitely is related.
Right. Yeah. And have you been pretty open with people in your life about being polyamorous as well?
Yeah. So on my side, probably about 5 years ago, the partner I was living with at the time and I were dating another person together, and that person was going to move in with us. And so I was like, well, shit, now I have to tell my mom, because like, otherwise this is going to be weird to not, I don't know. I feel like she would have figured it out, and then it would have been weirder than me just saying like, hi. So I called her up and told her, and her response was, yeah, I basically figured something like that was going on. I was like, all right, cool. I'm like, awesome. She has like met, I want to say secondary partners, because we try not to use that language in our house. She's met partners who are not people that I may be living with or sharing finances with, things like that. People who are outside of that. She's met and like welcomes them into her home. Yeah, and that's my basically only family member that I have a relationship with. So she's been awesome. And yeah, we're out to all our friends.
Yeah.
What about you and your family?
So I came out as like, hi, I'm queer. Also, I'm dating this person who is in a relationship with these other people. Cool. So that was really hard. I think with discussion and honesty, like
hard for you or hard for your parents?
Oh yeah, not hard for me. That for me, it just made sense. But hard for like my parents and it's like some of my siblings. And so like a couple of my siblings are like, peace, bye. But like not just because of that, mostly because of like transness. But like my parents are really lovely. They like Amanda, and like my other siblings are like, cool, whatever makes you happy, and like we're down. My extended family, I don't know if they know because like we don't hang out with them really, but my parents are pretty on board, which is nice.
I think so. Funny. Can I tell a funny story?
Go for it.
We play sports together, and their parents came to a game that Dan, my other long-term partner, was also at, and he came to say hi to me while we were sitting with MC's parents, and like I think gave me a kiss when I walked away, and then he walked away. I don't know. At some point, it ended up being like your parents and you.
Yeah.
And was it your mom said, "Oh, who's that?"
Yeah, so I had been talking to him and came back. My mom was like, who's that handsome guy you were talking with? And I was like, that's Amanda's other partner, Dan. And my mom was like, oh. My dad was like, okay. I get it.
Like, oh, that was my favorite. Oh.
I could have been a lot worse of a reaction.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, it's okay. Little surprise, but they take it in.
Yeah. Well, something you touched on earlier that I think would be important to maybe expand on, if you don't mind, is the safety aspect of this. And we always talk about the sexual health side of it, but you touched on something that was maybe a lot bigger deal in your dynamic, which is your physical safety, meeting other people as a trans person. Do you mind talking about that and how you navigate that and what you do to keep yourself safe in case there's somebody else listening who is going through the same thing?
Great. So thank you. I think for me, it's and when I'm talking with people, being very upfront and honest, like, hi, I'm trans. Before we meet up, it's like if it's a hookup situation, it's like, this is what my body looks like. Do you have a problem with that? Like being very honest about like that I am trans and not like that, just being open and being like asking straight out, like, are you okay with this? are you aware that this is what my body is like? And then like, even like there are times like even people say, yeah, but like you can read through that, like there is an uncomfortableness with that. And also like you can also find people that fetishize that. That doesn't necessarily make me feel any more safe either. So I think it's like just being mindful and when you're speaking with people. And then I like to think I'm pretty good at reading people. And so like when meeting someone, knowing, okay, how does this person make me feel? Do I feel safe? Do I feel ready? Like, yeah, in that situation. When it comes to dating, I've mostly only looked to date people that I already have an established relationship as a friend with. So like that makes that part easier. I think if we were to ever look to have like sexual playing things together with someone else, that those things would also apply.
Yeah, and beyond that, things that maybe don't protect you ahead of time, but could be good if violence were to occur is like, as like good practice, we always share like this person's name and where we're going to be and like an address, a phone number, like all the information we can in case something does happen. We can at least be like, here's where to go find them.
Right. And like, and also like checking in, like, hey, like there was a recent get together. It was like, hey,
get together.
It's just a soiree.
Yeah, we recently went to a soiree, and like she was like, "Hey, will you text me like just in like a couple hours so I know that you're safe?" So it was the first time I was meeting this person, and so that's like just checking in to make sure we're okay, which we may probably have still done even if like being my transness aside, just like because the way we tenderly consider each other, I think that might be a thing we did anyway.
Well, yeah, it's considerate, right? And it's besides
safe,
just like the safety, it's also considerate.
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate that because I think that's something too that anybody who's dating really in the dating world, single or poly or whatever, it's never a bad idea to have people know where you are and what you're doing and when you should be home, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then on the flip side, the sexual health side of it, how do you two approach that piece of the puzzle?
So we get tested every 6 months. Listening to your podcast, there are couples who are going like alternating 3-month thing, like every 6, but they're offset, which we've started talking about trying to do that because that makes a lot of sense.
And then anytime there's a new partner introduced, not long thereafter, also to getting tested.
Yeah.
We go to the same GP who is amazing and like non-judgmental about anything poly or casual sex or STIs or they like trans affirming. Yeah, they have like here's like they get like a guide to polyamory like laying on their desk. It's beautiful.
Oh,
awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just like go get tested whenever they're awesome. As far as other people, we always ask when they were last tested, if there was anything that came up, if there was anything they needed to take care of.
And then we were also talking like before we have any encounter, like these are the things, these are like boundaries, these are the protections like that we have. If you're cool with that, awesome. If you're not, then like that's not a thing. So just being very clear about what we need and expect.
And having those conversations, that's the most important piece.
Yeah, we're both super comfortable with that.
Yeah, common courtesy,
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you two would want to share with the audience?
Have there been any bloopers? We love the blooper question.
Oh, yeah, we do.
I should have thought of that ahead of time. Bloopers. Did anything happen Pride weekend that was a blooper?
Oh, man. So, I don't know. It was interesting. So I'm going to be honest. Okay, CQ, I call her CQ. Amanda was my first sexual partner. Beyond that, we decided Pride weekend, 2 of our good friends, we were all going to get together and have a Pride fuck fest. It was great, but I also like tripled my partners in like one night. And so that was an adventure.
Yay! That's not a bad thing.
No, it was a great time.
Was there a blooper then?
I think
It didn't like fall off a bed or anything.
They're just bragging about it.
I mean, okay, yeah. But I mean, we've said like the first probably 6 months we were together, like I almost fell off the bed literally about 75% of the time.
Oh, you gotta start putting pillows down.
Yeah. Well, this is okay. It's not as funny of a blooper as some of the others, but also on Pride weekend we went to this clothing optional pool party, and this is like the night. Was it the night after the hotel? So it was the night after we had hooked up with our friends, and we all went to this pool party together. And MC and one of them were like 4 feet away in the pool, and our friend said, "Hey, can I kiss you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So they like are moving together to kiss, and the fourth person just like not knowing what was going on at all, just like swam between them, like being silly,
almost like a
I don't know. No, I guess you had to be there. It was funny.
So the person broke up the kiss without knowing.
Yeah, and was just being like, spitting water.
You're like, cool. Other than that.
Well, did you recover and have the kiss afterwards?
Yeah, and many more after that.
Good.
So overall, I'm just kind of curious, like to kind of summarize, like do you think polyamory has been a super positive thing for both of you, like throughout the transition and throughout like building confidence and building up who you are and all of that you're exploring? Like, do you think polyamory has made that easier and better than if you were just boring old monogamous people?
I think personally, yeah. I think for us, polyamory has like created this community and this like intentionalness about how we relate to others, whether it be sexual or romantic relationships or just friendships. Like, right. I think it brings this intentionalness in how we approach others and approach all of those things. I can't imagine life working in a way differently than that.
Good. I think that also, like, people are always changing, right? We are never static, and we never stop learning and growing and maybe figuring out more about who we are. And I think for us, poly is a way for that to supplements that. So like, oh, well, I want to experience, thing XYZ, and I'm going to go do that. And now I know about myself, whether that's a thing that I need, want, enjoy, whatever. Then you know more about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought of another question. How do you go about meeting people? And I guess in polyamorous, in your community in polyamory, how do you go about meeting those types of people? Do you go to meetups or just like word of mouth, or are you on apps? Just because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to meet people and don't know how.
There are meetups in our area. There's this one particular coffee shop. It's a sex positive coffee shop.
Cool. That's fun.
Yeah, they have a lot of meetups there, but we don't tend to go to them. We don't really know why. It just it's weird. It feels like poly is very much a thing that we do and agree upon and believe in. But sometimes the community, maybe it's just because it feels very hetero sometimes, or very like not always trans affirming.
Yeah.
No, we just don't go to them, but they do exist in the Midwest. So you can look them up.
But we use like apps,
yeah,
and like just like friends. that we like have met and like things grow from.
Yeah, words of mouth. And
Yeah, well, we're both comfortable also being like, hello, friend. You're hot, I'm hot. Wanna fuck? And if they're like, yeah, then great. And if they say no, then it's like, okay, cool. And then you just move on. You're still friends. At least in our world, that's how it works.
I was going to say that. I think we live in different worlds, I think.
Yeah, and I think like that's something cool about the community. We like.
I think it's a queer thing too, because there are less of us.
Right.
There's, I don't know, maybe less of a pool of potential partners. So you're like, listen, we gotta like some of us all have to get together.
Well, and like maybe sounds silly, but like there's a good chance that someone has slept with a few of our friends anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So like we have a good like network. Like,
hey, is this person good or safe?
Yeah,
respectful, whatever.
Like, and so like we know there's a lot of like overlying things. Like, hey, tell me about this person.
Yeah.
Would they be cool with it or not?
Yeah.
The queer community has so much privilege.
Yeah, well, we chose to be in it. It was such a choice.
I do think that's awesome though. Like you said, you communicate within your community much better than us in the street.
I don't know about better, but maybe it just feels more normalized.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe because of the experience of being a queer person and like having to communicate that to other people a lot creates like this like almost like you said, it's normal to like have those conversations, and like
it doesn't make it that hard to leap to the polyamory piece
or to a casual hookup. And like you said, like because I think a lot of people, maybe a couple, is hearing you say like if you were to go up to their friends and say, hey, you're hot, we're hot, do you guys want to fuck? And like that would probably be the end of your friendship unless the answer was yes. So I think that's definitely something that we don't have that
well, at least
maybe
some people do.
Maybe we're just lucky like we haven't asked anybody that said no. So I guess kind of.
Who? Whisper it.
We'll talk about it.
I was gonna say, maybe we just need to start asking more.
Yeah. I think that people who are the ask and are more open about it all, they get. I mean, you might get more no's, but you also probably get more yeses.
Yeah,
it's a numbers game.
Find friends that may want to fuck. It's a good time.
Or smooch, whatever.
Smooch. Oh yeah, I would almost always. I would love to smooch all of my friends.
Friends who are listening.
Friends who are listening, if you know us, let me smooch.
So this is how they meet people. They come on podcasts.
Yeah, that's our MO.
That's wonderful.
Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you were hoping to share with the world and your friends that are listening?
You're all great. No.
I think sometimes it's like the thing that we said when we first started dating, because like there's sometimes some work that happens in relationships is that, I mean, sometimes being poly takes a little bit more work. I mean, like communication, but like just because something takes work and just because something is hard, it doesn't mean it's not worth it. And I think
we say that a lot.
We say that a lot, and I think people often like their knee-jerk reaction to hearing about poly is like, "Oh, that has to be hard." Sometimes, yeah, but it is so worth it, and I'm not gonna cry, but it's so worth it. It is. What's
your favorite part about it? Like, what's the number one thing that you think makes it worth it?
I think seeing the love we have for each other, seeing what like her love for other people is, my love for other people is, and just how much as a community we care for each other. Just so good. Like, how could you not want that?
Right. But you can count on other people and not just your, partners, like just the community in general.
Yeah. So beautiful. I don't know how you wouldn't want to work towards that.
Right. How about you, Amanda?
I think seeing you get excited before you meet someone is really fun. You know, that like pre-first date or you're going to go hook up energy is really fun. And also feeling like this might be the first time that another partner that I'm living with has actually been like 100% on board with how I operate and is like supportive of that is really big. Because, I had long-term relationships with people that were non-monogamous, but it never felt like this person was like, those people might have been like, yeah, go do your thing. It's great. It's okay. But they didn't want to like talk about it. And not even in like a tell me all the dirty, horny stuff that happened, but like, it was just like, once you walk in the door, that part of you doesn't exist, kind of. And that was hard. So you're like excited about it all the time and ask me questions. And like, I can come home and be like, I just had this awesome first date and I really want to gush about it. And 5 years ago, that might have been hard for the person I was with. And now you're like, hell yeah, tell me everything. Yes.
Like, I want to hear it. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I think it's inspiring and exciting to see two people who found each other that seem to be meant to be. So
yes.
Well played.
And who are just pushing, like I said, pushing all those norms, striving to be your true self. And I think we all need to be better about that and not be afraid to be true to yourself and be true to the world around you. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, unless there's something we missed or that you want to share, we can let you get on with your evening and
Bye.
We'll wave to
I want some of the cats.
Thank you for your podcast and for having us on. Visibility is important.
Yeah, for being so open when I messaged y'all about diversifying some of the things. You're like, hell yeah, let's talk.
Right.
Yeah, well,
it's been our goal from the beginning.
It is, and hopefully this will help other people listening that maybe have been concerned or shy about reaching out to do so, because the more diversity we can share, the better.
Right. Ultimately, we can only show stories that people want to share. So
we can't interview people who don't want to be interviewed.
Right.
So.
Yeah, a little bit before the interview today, I was like, I'm kind of nervous and I don't know why. And MC said, why? You love talking about yourself. You're right.
Well, I think it was excellent, and I'm really excited to be sharing the story and hopefully more to come.
Yes.
So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, have a wonderful evening, all you both and your cats. And we'll talk soon.
All right, great. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome back. I took your job.
I know you did.
I'm a thief.
You interrupted me.
I stole your heart and then I stole your job.
Oh boy. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. Anyway, thank you again to Amanda and MC. We had a wonderful time chatting with you two, and thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, and we hope to do it again sometime. As always.
As always.
Always.
Always. Okay, quick announcement. If you listen to the show, you know our affiliate STD Check. If you want an easy way to get tested for STIs, it's super easy and fast and anonymous. Well, not anonymous, but you don't have to have that.
And it doesn't hurt at all. It's weird. When they put the needle in, you don't even feel it.
Yeah. You don't have to have that awkward conversation with the doctor, was my point. Anyway, check them out.
The only awkward conversation you might have is when you go and it's you and your wife and two phlebotomists who are trying to figure out when you should have a baby with your wife.
Yes, that's true.
Based on holidays, because we're both holiday babies, and so they were trying to figure out what the best holiday for us to have babies are. So that was super fun, and those are the types of experiences you get.
And you felt awkward, didn't you?
Of course I did.
They were so nice. They were sweet.
I know, but I was feeling so much pressure to get you pregnant.
Oh my gosh. Why are we having this conversation on the podcast? Okay.
So go ahead and use STD check to get pressured into getting pregnant and save $10.
They weren't pressuring us. They were having fun.
And to save $10 and to help support your favorite Normalizing Non-Monogamy podcast, the Normalizing Non-Monogamy podcast.
Yes. Go to our website for that. And next week, Scott and Amy.
Scott and Amy coming at you next week.
Yes. Won't be quite on Halloween. It's the day before, but...
Yeah, that could be we could, if we had a baby on Halloween.
What? No. No.
All right.
Stop.
Let's stop. Stop rambling.
We're not going to plan our kids' birthdays right now.
Good.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. Sorry for this rambling outro.
Yeah, my apologies for my wife and her.
For you. You're the one that keeps going on about this birthday thing.
Excuse me. Have a great week.
Bye.